Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, episode number 71. Today, Joel Hatch goes solo and talks to the co-owner of Santa Barbara Run Company and the co-founder of Rabbit Run Apparel, Monica DeVreese. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Trail Manners Podcast. So today, I'm your host, Joel Hatch. Unfortunately, our other co-host, Eric Manning, is on a top secret mission, so it's just me today, folks. So on the show today, we have, now Eric, as Eric would say, a special guest. She is the co-owner of Santa Barbara Running, the co-founder of the super rad Rabbit running apparel line. On the line today, we have Monica DeVreese. How you doing, Monica?
I'm doing great. I'm just really stoked to be on your guys' podcast. So thank you for having me.
Hey, we're excited too. And you know, the reason that we're having this conversation today is because of your clothing line, Rabbit. And the reason we kind of found out about it is somebody that was on our show previously, Ashley Nordell. She's one of your athletes. She put out a Facebook post. Yeah, she is super rad. She put out a Facebook post saying, because, you know, Pearl Izumi's no longer having a team, so she got on with you guys. And, of course, I had to go find out what it was. So I looked into it, and, yeah, I looked at the men's apparel, and what sold me right away was the Quadzilla short.
Nice.
The name. I'm a sucker for good names, right?
Totally.
And I was like, oh man, I gotta check these guys out more. And then you've got a shirt that's called the Gun Show. Now, most runners don't have big guns, but I was like, these guys are cool. They're speaking my language. They're kind of sassy, but they're making clothes. This is cool.
Good. I'm glad we made you giggle a little. That's the whole goal too.
That's important, huh? So I think maybe before we get into the Rabbit background, maybe let's dive into yours a little bit. So were you always a runner?
Let's see. I grew up a soccer player. I grew up in Oklahoma City, and my parents had me playing soccer, at the age of 3, and then I did pretty much every sport. And then when I got to high school, I joined the cross country team, just to stay in shape for soccer.
Right.
And I just found out I was pretty decent at distance running. So running became my sport. I went on all 4 years in high school. We won the cross country state championship, and then I was the Oklahoma State Mile Championship my freshman and senior year. And I've pretty much been running ever since.
Now, did you transfer that success you had in high school to like post high school into college? Did you go run for?
No, I got several offers, and it was kind of sad. I think I got a little burnt out, in high school, like the second semester of my junior year. That's kind of when you really started talking, to a lot of schools and getting offers. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go to school and focus on studying. And then I continued to run on my own. I ran my first marathon. I did the Chicago Marathon when I was in college.
So where did you go to
So
school? Where did you go to college at?
I went to the University of Kansas.
Okay.
So it's in Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah.
Now, did you
Uh,
where did you ride? Did you run primarily road, or did you kind of get into the trail scene then?
yeah, then I stuck to road. I mean, Lawrence, they had some pretty cool little trail systems, so I would try to jump on those, but definitely I was pounding the pavement.
Yeah. Well, that's rad. So you went on, you ran. You said Chicago was your first marathon.
Yeah, that was my first marathon, and then gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many I've done. I was fortunate, after I graduated from Kansas, I worked at the local running store in Kansas City while I was also an accountant. So I worked at the running store mainly, just to get involved in the community and stay connected to the sport, and just also like socially to meet people.
Right.
Um, and then I ended up the owner of the running store, who's still a dear friend of mine. He said, I think you really need to go work for one of the sports companies. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be an accountant. That's my path. And
Right.
and I ended up getting a job with Adidas.
Okay.
I became a running specialty rep. So I called on all the running stores in the Midwest.
Right.
I sold them footwear, apparel, accessories. So that's really when I guess really my career in kind of this industry began, the day I started working at the running store. And I just became just such a product geek.
Aren't we all though? Aren't most runners
I
kind of that
know.
way?
Totally. Just gear junkies.
We are. All right, so you went on and you got that job at Adidas.
Yep.
You were
And so
going around the different stores, just kind of basically kind of showing them, the latest, newest gear, kind of giving them educational demos on the stuff.
I was also actually selling it, to that particular store. And then
Right.
I also I handled, like, if we had any athletes in that territory, I was kind of the running athletes. I was the point person.
Okay.
And then, like, if we sponsored camps, races, events, things like that, I managed those as well.
Okay. So how long did you
Yeah.
work for Adidas then?
So I ended up working for Adidas for about 7 years.
Wow.
I moved. So when I got the job, I was living in Indianapolis, and then I moved to Boulder. So that's really where, that was just such an awful move from
Yeah,
Indianapolis
terrible,
to Boulder.
right?
So that's really, when I moved to Boulder is when I, really started hitting the dirt, pretty much for every run.
Yeah.
And then I lived in I only was in Boulder for not quite a year, and then they moved me to Portland.
Oh,
So I was at the U.S. headquarters.
that's still a good place to live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then yes, I was with them 7 years.
So the whole time you were at Adidas, did you just have that single role, or did you go and work your way up through the company?
Yeah, so I ended up, from being out in the field, I ended up going into product marketing, and I was in the running department. So.
Okay. So lots of hands-on with the marketing and getting new products out to, not only stores but customers. Is that what you kind of did?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Great. So then after the Adidas gig was over with, what was the next thing for you?
So we lived in Portland a little over 5 years, and obviously within this industry, it's kind of incestuous, if you will, and
Oh, so maybe you should explain that a little bit.
You kind of end up, just your network of people, just through like trade shows and events, and you end up just like meeting, and your inner circle becomes your main circle, and it's just, people, I don't want to say jump from company to company, but that's just kind of, you meet somebody at another company, and then it might open a door at that company.
Right.
And there was an opportunity with Deckers, which they did not own Hoka at the time, but now they own the Hoka brand. Deckers is based in Santa Barbara.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah, so I got a job. So Deckers owns a bunch of different brands. Hoka's just one of those brands.
Right.
I got a job offer at Deckers when, it was like $100 million company. Now it's a $1.5 billion company.
Right.
So I got a job offer. And then my husband and I came down, I did the interview, and we're like, you have got to be kidding me. This town is unbelievable, and there's no running specialty store.
Oh.
Yeah, so
nice segue, by the way. That was really smooth. You've done this before.
So we were like, okay, we loved Portland, and I love Portland. But man, the vitamin D. I need my vitamin D. I need my sunshine, and that was kind of killing us. Going from Boulder to Portland, and my husband had lived in Colorado for like 12 years, so
right.
The rain was killing us, and the opportunity was just fantastic here. We just fell in love with Santa Barbara. It's just a paradise. So in 2003, we made the move. I got a job at Deckers, and then we opened the running store.
So did you open it in 2003, or was that like a couple years after?
No, we moved here. We ended up finding a space, and so we opened the running store in September of 2003.
So did you guys have plans on opening the store while you were in Portland then, or did you just, like you said, you got there and you realized that there was no specialty store, and you're like, oh, we can fill this niche then?
Yeah, so it was more like when we came down to kind of just, check out the area. I did the interview, and that's when we were like, okay, let's just do this. We'll make it work.
Right.
And check it out. And we had, when we were in Portland, so I was working at Adidas, and then my husband, we were also a partner with Foot Traffic, which has a bunch of shops in Portland. So the owner of Foot Traffic actually, he was a great mentor for us and helped us, get the space here and kind of get things going. So.
Okay. So you're working at Decker, and you also had the store. So how long did you work at Decker then before you made that transition over to the store full time?
Yeah. So I was there 7 years also. And, I was traveling, I would say like 85% of the time. And I had just had my first child, and I came home from a trip from Asia. I was gone, I think it was like 12 days. And my first child was 8 months old. And I walked in the door, and I'm like, oh man, I can't do this anymore, and
yeah, that's hard.
So I went and helped my husband Joe at the running stores, and so we actually have 2 stores in Santa Barbara.
Right.
One in Santa Barbara and one in Goleta, which is a little bit north of Santa Barbara. So went on and really just helped more, on the marketing front, and just doing a lot of the back end operations stuff.
Now, so I looked. I had to do a little bit of stalking online for your store, and because that's what we do. Just trying to gain some information. And you guys look like you have a really nice little store. But the one thing that kind of struck me right away, you guys have this like Saturdays kids thing, where you have like a kids club, right? And it looks like you guys have really good participation with that.
Yes, it's amazing.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that was one of the things when I went and started working at the store full time. We really, had a real focus on the kids' shoe business, but also just in terms of youth running in the community. And so I thought, let's start a little kids running group. Especially there's a lot of kids, that don't play soccer, don't play baseball. And
Yeah.
It's like, what can they participate in? Especially the younger kids. It's usually once you get, after kindergarten or into first grade, then you can start really participating. So so it started. Actually, I think the first season we did it, we got pretty decent group that signed up, and then it kind of spreads with the parents, and so it's great. So we typically have 4 sessions a year, and the kids, we meet every Saturday for about an hour and 15 minutes, and we just rotate. We meet at different parks throughout Santa Barbara, and then they always train for a culminating event.
Okay.
So
So
it's typically a mile race.
okay. So what age group do you guys normally comprise the club? So give me that range.
Yeah, so actually it's 3 to 12.
Holy cow.
But then we break it up. So we have 3 different coaches too. So based on kind of ability and age, that's how we break them out. But I would say, like, overall, I mean, it's all about just having fun and, teaching children that there is joy in running, and really just starting them young, with that message.
Right.
And,
Those 3-year-olds must be running so fast when they start, right? Because don't all little kids like that, they just go off the line and they book it.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting trying to teach them about pace.
They probably don't get that. They're like, no. Has to win. That would be awesome to see.
Yeah, it's pretty special. It's it's fun, and also it just kind of. So I have 2 little boys. They're 7 and 5.
Oh, okay.
So part of them too from me. I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out a way to burn some energy with these guys. I can't keep up.
I know. It's a good way to get them involved in an activity that you love too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how many kids do you guys have in the club? What's the average?
So let's see. Yeah, so it just kind of depends. Like, this is typically winter and spring are bigger, because then, in the fall, a lot of kids do play soccer.
Yeah.
I think we have close to 40 kids for this session.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, so they'll train for a race at the end of February.
Yeah, so they'll hit that mile up, and then they all get their medals and stuff, and then they get all pumped up to do it again, right? So they come back through the next year, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat that time,"
Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool. So I wanted to kind of circle back around to the store a little bit. So when you guys first opened up the store, were the locals just totally pumped to have this local resource come in?
Yeah, it was actually really cool too. So we our downtown space, we share with a bike shop called Hazards.
Oh.
And that bike shop is pretty much kind of the hub. There's a big triathlon community as well in Santa Barbara. And most of the triathletes, that's, the bike shop that they shopped at.
Right.
So it works out really well. So we do share a space within our building with the bike shop. So immediately when we opened, we had automatic, customers.
Oh, that would have been, that's so helpful to have that, right?
Absolutely.
That took a big stress right away to have that there available to you guys. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, so that was great. So yeah, we kind of immediately just, the community totally embraced us, and it helped tremendously.
So what was the running scene like in 2003 when you guys came into town? Was it, like you said, just predominantly road and triathlon? What was the trail scene like?
Yeah, it's actually, it's funny, there's always been kind of this underground trail scene here. There's a race called, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's called 9 Trails.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. So
Luis Escobar, he is the race director now. He actually puts on the born to run. He puts on a bunch of trail races around here.
Right.
But anyway, I don't even know. It's been around forever. I can't even remember when it started. But maybe in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, that
early
is old
80s.
school.
And it's a 35-mile gnarly trail race. And it basically, have you ever been to Santa Barbara before?
Unfortunately, I haven't, but I think we're going to make our way out there to visit the headquarters of Rabbit.
Yeah, definitely.
And then
it's fun because everyone thinks Santa Barbara, like if you've never been here, I think a lot of people's perception or kind of what they have in their head is like it's LA.
Right.
So we're 90 miles north of LA, so we
Right.
are not LA at all. Literally, you have the ocean, and then you can run, 4 miles and hit a trail.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we have just an incredible trail system here. Yeah. So when we opened the store, I would say like there was 9 trails, and that was like people were just like, oh my God, that thing is just gnarly. We have this pretty cool map, this huge map framed up in the shop of the 9 trails elevation. It's an elevation map, and so there's not across the front range here. You go across 9 different trails and go out and back, and it's like I think it's 11,000 feet gain over 35 miles.
Oh, that is stout.
Yeah, our trails are super hard here. They're really hard. So that was pretty much all in terms of like races here.
Mm-hmm.
But people, I mean, I remember right when we moved here, I always did like Forest Park in Portland and Tryon Creek, and those are like super runnable trails. And when we moved here, I was like, oh my God, these are mountains. This is mountains. These are not. Oh, it took me a while. They're intense and they're very technical. But I would say like, there were a lot of people that would hit the trails and train on them. But yeah, I think just along with the sport, it's huge now.
Yeah.
Huge.
So do you guys, from 2003 until now, so that trail scene's kind of blown up in you guys' area?
Yeah, big time. We actually, even through the store, we have the Santa Barbara Mountain Racing Team. So, we have a men's and women's specific trail team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many people are on your team?
So let's see. For women, I think there's 8 of us.
Oh my goodness.
And then, 7 or 8. And then for men, I believe there's 6. But they're going to probably add a few people because there's just, that's the other thing. Santa Barbara is like this little secret. The talent here is pretty wild.
Well, with your terrain, I'm sure it just feeds that talent.
Yes.
If you've got really steep, gnarly technical trails, that just makes you a better runner automatically.
Absolutely.
And then that ability to be able to run year round kind of helps too.
Totally. Nope. Yeah, you have no excuse here.
That's right. Do you guys have like a funky time of year where you kind of get that coastal fog that comes in and makes everything kind of yucky, or you guys?
Yeah. So I definitely would recommend not visiting here in June. It's called May or June, like May gray, June gloom.
Oh, really? It's spring and summer. I thought that would probably be more like a winter thing where you guys get that, but that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I always feel bad because, we get a lot of tourists that come through Santa Barbara in the summer. A lot of people, from outside of the U.S. and they, they'll start in San Francisco and take the Highway 1 and the 101 to L.A. and they'll come, through June and July, because July can be foggy too. I feel like June is like the coldest month of the year.
Really?
And these people, I just feel so bad because they're expecting to like lay on the beach, and be outside all day and it's cold. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why you guys are such a hidden little gem, is that tourist season, people come in, they're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to come back here and, have a house or move here because this is gloomy.
Yeah, you can pretty much, I would say, all of June. The sun will come out in the afternoon, but there's many days it doesn't come out.
Right. Well, you guys don't have to deal with snow like we do, so I'm not going to feel too bad for you, because I would take that over, the 10 feet of snow we got so far this winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely see that terrain definitely adding to the talent level big, and especially if you guys are supporting, if you've got almost 20 athletes that you guys are supporting, that makes it even, a higher level of talent that's coming out of your guys' not only store but your town. So do you guys then have some sort of requirements for your store athletes? Do they have to do X amount of races? How does that work for them?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we kind of take a look at everyone's, kind of goals for the year. And then, that the goal, we would want everyone we put on a trail race through the store once a year. Actually, last year was our first year to do it.
How long was that race?
So it wasn't an ultra. We did, because part of the goal too was just to get more, the local community excited about trail racing, and a lot of those people, they're going to want to start with like a 5-mile, race. So we did, it was a 6-mile and a 12-mile distance. And, we sold it out in the first, obviously we had to cap it. But that went really well. So like we would expect the team to participate, at the trail race. And then we try to do as many as possible as a team, and then, have train together and things like that. And obviously you're expected, to wear, you get some gear, and then you want to wear a race kit when you're racing.
Yeah, you got to represent the store too.
Yeah, for sure. And then we also, I didn't even mention, we have, it's called Santa Barbara Running and Racing, which is, it's a group, I would say close to 100 people that meet twice a week. And they're definitely more of your road, your road warriors. They're training for road marathons. Like, I think this year there's, out of that group, 30 people going to Boston.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah.
Now, is this group kind of open? So say like a tourist comes through town, they can look that group up and see when their group run is and go join them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely, there's 2 coaches that run it. So depending on kind of what you're looking for in terms of, you can have more individualized coaching, or, if you're like, I just want to show up on Tuesday and Saturday and just kind of tell me what the workout is. It just depends kind of what your need is. But definitely we always welcome, if people are out of town visiting and they stop by the store, we, tell them for sure, come run with us.
That's so awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like you guys have a really good trail scene there, and it's grown over the years, just like I think everybody else has kind of experienced that boom in trail running. And then, definitely now more and more people are getting into the ultra scene. How then did you guys develop a clothing line?
So it's pretty funny. So I was working at the store, and let's see, this was, oh my gosh, I feel like all my years are just blurred.
That's what happens when you become a parent.
Oh my God.
Get that mommy fog. And I got the daddy fog. I only got one son, but I still have that. I just can't remember things like I used to.
Oh boy, speaking of, one of my kids is running back here. Hopefully he won't interrupt.
If he does, that's okay. I understand. Okay. All of our listeners, they get it. They understand.
Okay, so let's see. In 2000, it's 2017, so it would have been 2014.
Okay.
Like around May of 2014, Jill Deering, who is my partner in crime with Rabbit, the other half of Rabbit. So she's an incredible runner, just an amazing athlete and businesswoman. So we had started also a women's road team through the store, and she was on that road team. And so she had come to me one day, and she was like, Monica, I am so frustrated with running apparel. And it was funny because we were feeling the same thing. So we were feeling the same thing as runners, but also as store owners. I mean, it was just like this cycle, you know, we would bring the stuff in and would go on the sale rack. I mean, it was just, that's how our apparel business was at the store. They're just, at the time, you know, all of the big brands, everything was made to do everything in. You know, it was made to run in, to do yoga in, to do CrossFit, do Pilates in, and the fits were awful. You know, it's like we're like, we don't want a tank top that goes down to our knees with 8 different straps. You know, it's like, how do you sit down and put this thing on? You know, it's like we wanted a product that was built to run in. Obviously, yes, it has to look good too. And so as we started talking about this more, I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, we're feeling the same thing and the same frustration. And she's like, am I crazy? But would you ever want to start a running brand, apparel brand? And so with that, that's how Rabbit was born. I mean, literally, it was just out of frustration and then also just experience, you know, as a owner and as an end user.
Yeah.
So we ended up, we're like, okay, obviously we have a pool of, you know, hundreds of people, you know, within our running community. Let's, you know, just validate that they're feeling the same thing as we are.
Right.
Sure enough, I mean, everybody said the same thing. Everybody wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with my background just on brand management, product management, and development, we went for it. So I think we were lucky as like, okay, we had obviously from a business standpoint, like it was validated. And then just from my background and experience, you know, we didn't have to be like, okay, now what do we do?
Right. You guys were at such an advantage over anybody else that would try that. Yeah, you guys had definitely a leg up on that. Plus, you had a good idea. There's a problem out there. How can we solve that? And when you said that, you know, you and Jill were frustrated with, you know, the cuts, and then each piece of apparel was supposed to be multifunction. So it was supposed to not only work for running, but for yoga and maybe casual. So a funny story that kind of parallels with that is when Pearl Izumi was making a short line years ago. They had a zipper on the back, and all the runners like that because, well, they can put a key in there, they can put gel in there, they can store stuff. But their product developer said that, no, we're going to move this because people that wear these to the gym don't like that zipper in the back. And all the runners are like, well, you're making runner shorts. You're not making the multifunction short.
Right.
So there's definitely that. So there's that parallel. There's that need was there. And then you guys stepped in with your background and your knowledge, and then boom, you filled it. That's a great
and then
story.
Also, and talking, you know, to other running stores too, it was like the same frustrations, you know. It's like everyone said the same thing. It's like apparel is tough, and it's like, because there's nothing special.
Right.
There's nothing special that exists, you know. It's like, you know, what's from this big brand short? What's special about that short? You know, you can go on Amazon and get it the next day. You can find it at this sporting goods, that sporting goods, this running store.
Mm-hmm.
There's no story. There's no, it's like, I mean, so, I mean, it's been incredible.
Do you guys make all your stuff here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so everything's made in L.A. And that was the other thing. It was like, from the beginning, it was like, let's really try to do this here. Because I'm like, that was the thing. It's like, I have 2 little kids. I'm not going to start flying again back and forth to Asia,
Right.
And then also just from a sustainability and like being able to, God, it's like the amount of stuff you can get done. We can drive down the road and be at the
Yeah.
factory in 90 minutes,
Right. Yeah. So if there's a problem, you guys can go down there, assess the problem, and then start troubleshooting it, right?
Exactly. And just,
You don't have
I
to
mean,
give up like a week of your time and be away from your family. I think that's a great idea. I'd like to see more companies start doing that. I mean, I understand from their point of view, they're like, well, it's a lot cheaper to go over to Asia than do it. But from a small business owner, it makes sense to do it how you guys did it.
yeah, it's fantastic. And like, I mean, just in terms of like, you really are seeing the apparel manufacturing come back here, which is encouraging. I mean, the people that we're partnering with, I mean, it's incredible, what they're investing and the people and the facilities, and it's really exciting.
So when you guys launched Rabbit, how many pieces of apparel did you have? Did you guys say, okay, we're going to launch with a shirt, a top, and like tights for both men and women's? Was that kind of your idea, or did you say, okay, we're going to hit the ground running with a bigger product line?
Yeah, no, so I mean, kind of, and this is something we'll always stay true to. It's it's this idea, it's everything you need, nothing you don't. So
Ooh, I like
sort
that.
of that idea, everything you need, nothing you don't, in terms of the actual product itself. Like, I mean, you've experienced our product. Everything, I would just say, is very simple. There's not all this crap thrown on the product just to throw crap on the product.
Right.
So everything's very simple. And then also just in terms of building the product line, it's the same mentality. It's like, okay, well, we're not just going to add a short to add a short. I mean, and to change it, because you know what, it's been a year and we need to change it. If it's working, yeah, we're going to constantly fine tune things, and there's always room for improvement.
Right.
So the idea, like, for example, on the men's line, it's very lean. It's like, okay, when you look at the shorts market, okay, well, like for us, it's like very clear. There's 3 guys there. There's your race split guy,
Yep.
the guy that wants to show a little quad,
Yep.
Zilla, and then, the guy that just, he's not comfortable showing much leg. And so that, was pretty, and also just having the knowledge of what we do sell in the store, and kind of that matrix and what works. It's like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here.
No.
Yeah, and then, we're like, let's start with a short sleeve and a singlet for guys. And that was it. And then obviously we did different colors within the different styles.
Right.
That was our first season. And then women's, we did, a couple shorts, a couple tanks, and a T-shirt. And then, so I'm not sure, did you know that we launched with a Kickstarter?
I think I saw that along the line somewhere. I didn't. I did. I came on to you guys kind of later when you've been into it now for 3 years. So I first saw you when Ashley Nordell came on the team. So that was in the fall of 2016.
Yeah. So we really didn't. So we launched a Kickstarter in December 15.
Okay, so it's been.
And that was really just to, get. We had already placed production POs. It was more to start the marketing,
Right.
and pre-orders. So the first product that we shipped was end of April of this past year.
Right. So not even a year out.
No. And then this fall, this November, we obviously expanded the line into some more colder weather gear.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
So
your cold weather gear and my cold weather gear are a little bit different.
I know. And that's definitely, so that's where I would say, like, okay, yes, fall 17, look for us to expand that area. We
Right.
can't do it all at once.
No.
But yeah, we absolutely know that, people where you're living. in
Right.
these
I
colder
saw that you
climates,
guys had
no.
a Facebook post the other day, and you're asking, well, what pieces do we need to add? And I think most of the
Right.
responses were like a rain jacket. We need a rain jacket.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Um,
what's coming up? What's coming down the pipeline for 2017 spring summer? Do you have anything new coming out?
so in the let's see, the next 3 weeks, we'll be launching new colors,
Okay.
and some new fabrics in
Ooh.
existing gear. Really cool new colors.
Now I've
Um,
seen the green short that's coming out for the men, and it's
yeah,
got that gray piping.
yeah,
So is that the Quadzilla that's coming out for 17?
yeah, yeah.
That
So
looks
that'll be out in a couple weeks.
pretty sweet.
That's,
I'm gonna have to get a pair of those.
yeah.
So one
That's
thing
always
that
called Tide.
I do have a question about, how
Uh-huh.
and you can relate to this as an ultra runner, you want some storage in your shorts. Is there
Yeah.
any plan to add one or two more pockets that are
Oh,
necessary
yeah.
pockets though? Like you said, you don't want to have fluff.
Absolutely.
You want it to be necessary.
Yeah.
And I think like the best example is like Patagonia makes a really good ultra short. And I've
Yeah.
been running it for years, and it has just exactly what I need. But
Yep.
I think where Rabbit is a lot better is the material feels better.
Right.
So if I can have
You
the
just
storage capacity of the Patagonia short with the Rabbit feel, oh man, that would be ideal.
June 1st.
All
You
right.
will.
So is that going to come
Yeah.
out as like a new short, or is it like Quadzilla with expanded capacity?
It's a new short, but Quadzilla really hits the trails, and Quadzilla is really doing some ultra distances.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that will be out June 1st. So this spring, okay, so what's coming out at the end of February, pretty much new color updates, a few new fabrics.
Okay.
We will have in April a new men's sleeveless and a women's, a little bit more, I would say more, it's a singlet, less of like a racer back tank top.
Okay.
So like a little looser, a little more coverage,
Right.
And then June, men's and women's trail shorts will
Awesome.
be a big deal. Yeah. And then a lot of it, new colors and new fabrics, and like just taking the feedback we're getting from you guys and
Mm-hmm.
just fine-tuning it. Not recreating the wheel here. It's, we've got freaking amazing products, and just there's little feedback we're getting, and we're just making those changes based on universal, like for example on our women's tank tops, like the neckline could come up just a little bit. It's just these subtle little changes that just overall people probably won't even notice, but it'll just make the product better.
But I think as as trail runners and ultra runners, we're into that, those subtle changes, and those subtle changes are what make us really loyal over the long run. So
Right.
that's so smart to do that. I mean, you kind of discount it, but I think as a consumer and also as somebody that's always looking for, okay, this product can be made a little bit better by doing this. I really appreciate that, and I think a lot of people that listen to our podcast will appreciate the fact that you guys are doing that homework to detail, making sure that okay, we're going to keep the gun show or the Quadzilla in the line. We're not going to change it too much, but we're going to just move the hemline a little bit, or we're going to improve the quality of the feel of the product. That makes
Right.
lifelong fans of your brand.
Absolutely.
And I can't say enough about the Quadzilla short. It's so comfortable. Really, it is. And I'm not trying to like kiss up to you. I bought it because Ashley Nordell. So you need to thank her. But
I will.
also because of the name, because I'm a sucker for good names. And I was like, well, these guys are making stuff in the U.S. I got to try it out. And they came and I wore it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm hooked now. So my next thing is I gotta get one of those tanks, the gun show tank, because it's gonna be pretty hot here shortly in Utah. And that one that's like black on black, that thing is tight.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking I'm gonna have to race in that this year for sure.
Absolutely.
And your women's line. So you've been coming out with a lot of teasers on Facebook recently with your women's line. Now, I'm a guy and I probably don't have the best, fashion sense, but your women's line looks tight. It's got great colors. And I think a lot of people on the Wasatch Front will be looking at that and be going, yeah, I got to get some of that too.
Yeah, that macaw green. I'm real into the green. So for the guys, the new chive color. And then for women, the new macaw green. Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm thinking my go-to this year is going to be the gun show black, and then that chive green quadzilla is going to be my go-to right there. And then a pair of like Hoka Claytons, that yellow color they had?
Yep.
I'm going to have to get a pair of those because I'm not going to lie, I kind of like the match. That I don't know why. It's just something I like to do now for some reason. Yeah, so I can see that happening big time.
Very nice, very nice.
Well, I think that you guys are doing a really great job with the Rabbit line. I would love to come out and just check out your store because I always think it's important to support those local running stores. And I think it's amazing you guys have two. That speaks volumes about, how you run your business and then also how the community has received you guys. So we would definitely like to come out and check you guys out for sure.
Oh my gosh, please, anytime, let us know.
That would be fun. We're always kind of threatening to come out and see people, but you're definitely high on the list just because I've always wanted to check out Santa Barbara. I've been to LA a couple times and it's kind of like what everybody thinks it is. It's kind of nutty, but Santa Barbara's cool.
Yeah, don't tell too many people about it, though.
I'm going to tell them to come during May. Santa Barbara. Yeah, come to May and June, because I heard it's really sunny then. Yeah. Well, hey, I want to thank you for being on the show, and I hope that our listeners are getting introduced to this great product line that's made here in the U.S. They can go and they can check out it's runninrabbit.com, and we'll have that in the show notes. We'll also have links to Santa Barbara Running, to their kids club, to also their road club. Check them out online. Check them out on social media. They're doing a really good job. I think you're going to be really happy with their product. And I want to thank you for taking time to talk to us today. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And yeah, we'll definitely be seeing you and talking to you soon.
That sounds great, Joel. Thank you so much. And yeah, let me know if you guys make it out this way.
Yeah, we will for sure.
Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners podcast. We'd like to thank Monica DeVreese from Rabbit for joining us today. If you want to check out more of their amazing gear, head on over to their website at runninrabbit.com. That's RUNIN rabbit.com. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or swing by our website at trailmanners.com. There on the store page, you can check out our cool gear that we got going, or hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or even if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning and Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.